This episode, the Tool Review Show. The Handyman pros reveal their top tools for 2020, the features and advantages, and how these tools are essential to your productivity. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled The Tool Review Show. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy John. John, tell me a story about this week.
A story about this week, Larry. Well,
not that one, John. Not that
here.
story.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, it's an old man story. Get off my lawn. And I mean, from this week, I did an outdoor, a faucet bib replacement, and it was a real old one. You couldn't fix it, so I wound up having to cut it off. And when I was talking to you about it, I bought one of those shark bite ones. It was just a 1/2-inch pipe, and I cleaned it all up and I slid the new one on there, and it seems to work great. So, you didn't break out the torch within that plumbing system, but the shark bite outdoor hose bib certainly did the job. So that was we can talk about that at length some other time, but it was a very quick replacement, and it worked great.
You didn't want to sweat solder and set the house on fire? Come on, where's your sense of adventure?
I didn't want to go through that. So that whole thing, and I decided, well, let's try this, and it worked great. Bolted it and screwed it back in and onto the siding, and bingo.
And away she goes.
New.
Yeah, brand new and fixed, right? So it leads us into our story to a degree anyway about tools and or things this year. This is kind of one of those things like, will you ever go back to sweat soldering? But we wanted to talk about tools because we like to talk about tools, right? Because we're kind of we make our living with tools is what we do. And this year we started this last year. We did our tool review show and we talked about the things that are basically the essentials. This year we wanted to do a little change, and we'll probably do this as a continuing series, usually in December probably of every year, because it's kind of set up partially for the Christmas season, but it's also just we have some things this year as we go through our retrospectives of the year, and there's just some tools this year that we're never going to go back. Once you have it, you never want to go back, right, John? I mean, isn't that kind of what we talked about before the show?
Absolutely, and it's kind of lessons from the field, lessons learned, and good takeaways from this past year of what I've used, in terms of tools. And we were talking about this before the show earlier, and you brought up you won't things that we have now that you won't go back.
Right.
It's the job function it turns out a lot better, a lot quicker, better result, and it's just enjoyable to have these kind of things. So people out there, the folks out there, if you're thinking about getting some of these things and you're a little bit more serious about doing some DIY work and things like that, listen up. We've got some good tips for you on these tools.
And these tools are things that it was exactly that. As we were talking before the show, it was really our genesis is like what would you never not have at this point? It's kind of what it is.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's like I've used this and nope, never going to be without that one again. So John, start it off. You've got one. Actually it's one, and I actually have the same thing.
Let me take a one step back. One step back, and that was last year. And the tool of last year was that little blower.
Oh.
Okay. That thing, I use that all the time. I don't want to talk about that, on this show.
Because we still use it every day.
Because we use it every day.
Every day.
But the new ones the new kind of things that I use all the time in addition to that. But folks, if you want, you can go back and listen to that episode on that thing. But that's wonderful. This year, I got a couple of them. And the one that I really am glad that I have is a little dual action cordless sander. It's a 5 1/4 disc sanding disc. And I use that thing continuously. You've got your little sanders. I got my little sanders, and this thing is the bomb. I mean, it produces a great finish. So anybody out there has used an orbital, a dual action, it's an orbital type of sander. And if you go to the store, you'll see what I'm talking about. And of course, all of our tools are cordless, which makes it
Yeah, we
great.
had that discussion.
Easy to use. There's no cords and so on and so forth.
Yep. Slap a battery in it and rock and roll, right?
Yeah, and this thing is powerful. It of course you can put different grades of sandpaper on it, but it is just wonderful. And I use it all the time. And honestly, I won't go back. If I can get away with using this without doing hand sanding and things like that, I'm going to use this because it produces a great result and it's quick. So it saves me a lot of time and aggravation, if you will. Just getting the job done. I just used it the other day. Matter of fact, I just repaired a deck, and I had to just kind of feather in where some old wood was into the old paint on the deck, to make a nice result because I had to restain it was actually a solid stain. I call it a paint. But, just to kind of feather it in, and in a matter of a few minutes, I was done,
Yeah.
And it came out perfect. So
and I just wanted to add, mine goes in with the same thing. So I have a similar. It's not. I don't have a DA sander, but I have a regular finish sander, just a regular vibrating finish sander. But I actually this year I added three. Well, I actually added one actual sander, and then I added a sanding disc for my grinder. Okay, so my 4-inch grinder, I bought some sanding discs for it. So and they come in different grades of sandpaper, but I think I'm using 60. I use it for real rough, like when I wanted to take a lot off. And I also bought a belt sander as well, and two different kind of applications, but designed for doing some shaping of both wood. And I think the place I use them the most is when I'm doing wood rot. Doing wood rot either with Bondo or with just anytime I'm trying to get a really fine fit with something. I use a combination of all three on an unusual day, but the ability to take these sanders and go in and sand this stuff off and actually get either if you're trying to make a glue joint to make a better glue joint, or you're trying to get a caulk line straight, or you just made a miscue with your saw and you want to finish this stuff off, these cordless sanders of all types are just awesome to have because they just do. They make it so simple and so quick, and it's like the results come out so much better. You kind of forget when you're out doing it, how much sanding makes a difference. Prepping paint, just all of that stuff. Taking off a paint drip, you just hit this thing, zip, it's done. No, you don't have to screw with your sandpaper, your arms, your this, your that. It's like using sandpaper without powered. It's like using powered sandpaper with your arm. It's just fantastic. Really, really fantastic. I wanted to add in one of my ones this year that we've done a lot with is my reciprocating saw, but I wanted to kind of to narrow that in. It's not so much the saw, John. It's the different blades I've been using. And so, and you had mentioned this too. This was on your list. We did some things, folks, just so you understand. There's some that Larry has, some that John has, and there's some that we both had. And so this year, one of the things we both had is we've both been doing a little bit of not lawn work, but we've been doing a little tree trimming around the yards, right? And John and I both are, well, it's not that we're old, but we're kind of getting past wanting to break out anything that has a gas engine in it. And so chainsaws are kind of off the table because we haven't really looked at it, plus a chainsaw has kickback and all the kind of some of the safety issues. But we've been using these aggressive pruning blades that you can get for your reciprocating saw, John, right? You want to add what you say about it.
I bought, you kind of turned me on to that about a year ago, and I really used it this year. So you can buy the one, I think they're about a foot long, I think.
Yeah,
the blades,
they're long.
Or something like that. And they're really, like you said, they're really aggressive. They're pruning blades. And since your recip saws these days are all cordless, just take them around your yard and use them that way. It's easier than like a pruning, cutting with a saw. I haven't used my hand saw, and I've got one, bow saw. I haven't used that thing in I don't know how long. With this, it just seems it's just a lot safer. It's quick. And then I cut up little pieces of, part of the woods out back in my house here, and use them in a fire pit.
For the fire pit, yeah.
And this thing just cuts them right up, and it's clean. I've got a chainsaw, and I just started it up, make sure it's running and everything, because I have had trees across my driveway where I had to break that thing out. So that was a godsend that I had it at the time. But for all the little pruning things, these things, you can't beat them.
Yeah,
you can't beat them. And I've taken down, I don't know, 5-inch.
Yeah, I was going to say, small trees are not beyond the reach of this thing. I mean, you're not talking about a 12-inch tree or anything, but you do a 5 or 6 inch tree, you can actually cut a 5 or 6 inch tree down of all types. I've done hardwoods. I've done obviously softwoods are really, really easy, but just great for if you're just clearing. One of the other great advantages that I found with these pruning blades is, like, if you want to get close to the ground, like really close to the ground,
exactly,
you can get right down on the ground with it, just like you're using your recip saw to trim nails and stuff out of between a door jamb or something. You can do that with this recip saw on the pruning blade, and you can cut it right down flush, almost flush with the ground. I mean, really, really nice, and really lightweight and really strong. Really powerful. And I forget which particular blades, but if you go in the blade, any of the big box stores have them, but they're long. They're 9 or 12 inches. I can't remember what mine are, but they're long blades, and they're really aggressive. They're like that bow saw blade, right? If you know what a bow saw is for your exterior thing, it's really aggressive, and man, it cuts through that stuff so fast. It's fantastic. It's like, where I used to whip the chainsaw out, now I whip out my recip saw.
I can't go back without it now. If you took it away from me, I'd be like, no, I gotta have one.
Yeah, I gotta have it.
That's how much, and it's just not only for the job, which it was intended to do, for the full-time job, but I mean for pruning here specifically. I mean, I love that thing for that.
Yeah, it's just right. Yeah, a recip saw is not really made it's not really like your lawn and garden tool, right? It's for construction. Exactly. Demolition.
Exactly. But now that I've used it, it's in that category where I can't go back. I can't go back without it. So,
and one other blade that this year I've used it a lot, but that's just to take that same saw, and I bought some long hacksaw long metal blades.
Yeah,
the long metal blades, and same thing. It just makes it so much easier and faster and a better job, and you're cutting things that are more like, I'm going to say we just did a whole big job on it with drainage, and we were cutting Schedule 20 pipe. And Schedule 20 pipe, folks, if you don't know, is a thin wall version of plumbing pipe. Well, this happened to be 4-inch Schedule 40, and we used the hacksaw blades, and it cut through it just perfectly. It made it nice and clean. It was a clean cut, and then we were cutting some metal. Obviously, we're cutting metal with it, and it's like, no more hacksaws, right? No more hacksaws,
right?
Yeah, kind of not going back on that. And then I do carry a demolition blade too, so I got some. I think they're 12-inch demolition blades, but they're tapered down at the end, and that's another one. Boy, between those 3 blades, I'm never going back. I will not be without those blades, because it's just saves my butt, right? You know. So so that, John, what else do we have? What's some other got it not going backwards?
The thing that I've used, and we talked about was a trim router, and that's just a little handheld router. It's cordless. And I know you brought it up. I bring it up. For door locks.
Door locks. Yep.
You're cutting in hinges. You're cutting in door locks. You're recessing anything. You're adding some type of trim. You want to clean it up. This thing has been just tremendous. Yeah. For that. It's not a big full size router, but it's just a little trim router. And it, to me, Larry, I just, I can't go back now without it. Yeah. I don't want to tackle some of these jobs with a hammer and a chisel, just because this thing produces a better job, faster job, and I can get a better result from it.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. And I think that one of my pet peeves, right, when I go into somebody's house and you go to close the door and the deadbolt doesn't lock all the way, or the door doesn't catch, right, the latch doesn't actually catch. Half the time it's either because the door has just moved a little bit with age, or it was never installed right in the first place. And I'm not really sure which ones they are. Some of them I know they're not installed right in the first place. When you've got a full half an inch of wood up in the slot, somebody just half assed it. I hate to say it, but they just, and they didn't take the time to chisel it out or router it out. And I love fixing those kinds of problems for my customers. I just did one this week. It's kind of why I bring it up. But I did one this week, and the people they'd been for 5 years, they'd not been able to really lock their door, and they're like, can you fix this? And it was one of those daily bug list ones. And I took off the strike plate, I actually traced out where the hole was in the strike plate and dug it out and zipped it out with my trim router in about, I don't know, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I think it took me longer to sweep up the sawdust than it did to actually do the job.
Yeah, right. Right.
And voila, problem fixed. They're like, oh my God. That's when they always tell me anyway, after the fact, I've been struggling with that for 5 years.
Right.
3 minutes later, I'm done. Right.
Right. And, it's just one of those, it's another one of those tools that I can't, I got to have it.
Yeah.
And I'm using it more and more. So when I first bought it, now we've had other people on the show, and you have to use the tools to make the conscious decision to purchase and the cost benefit and all that. But this thing, I bought it for a specific job, but I'm using it more and more and more. It's just, it's been great. I've really enjoyed using it.
Yeah, and it does. Again, for me too, it just gives you that it's a better quality job, and it opens up some possibilities that you didn't have otherwise that you now do have. To get that really fine quality finish, especially like door hinges. I bought the door hinge jig for it. Mm-hmm. What a difference! Oh my gosh, like zing, 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 and you're done. You're like, wow, okay, cool. So so that's it. The trim router, and ours do happen to be cordless. And as we have always said about cordless tools, all our stuff runs on one battery. So we're just popping batteries in and out, and away we go. What tool do you want to use as long as you have the tool?
Yeah.
So, and again, it's, at our stage, John, we're kind of at the stage where we're adding some more specialized tools because we can.
Right.
And we're not saying everybody needs to, but I'm just telling you that trim router, that's a no-go back. If you're doing any kind of work on a regular basis where you need to make thin cut, I call it thin cuts or custom cuts, really worthwhile having. So, John, there's another one there that I came back to this. So back in my previous life running a vending route, I used to wear the Leatherman on my belt every day because I always needed to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I've gotten back to wearing my Leatherman back on my belt when I go out on the job. And I think you shared that experience. So talk a little bit about the Leatherman.
Yeah, I mean, I did. And people, folks out there that don't know what a Leatherman. It's kind of it's a multi-tool. There's a bunch of different companies that make them. They're pliers. They're knives. There's it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife.
It's like a Swiss Army knife,
but it's a little bit more stout than robust, a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
and I found mine that my wife gave me a long time ago. And I use it all the time, because it's just, if you need a pair of pliers with it, you got it. If you need a knife, you need a little Phillips head, you need a little common slot driver, a pair of scissors or something like that, just these little things. And I will tell you that where it really comes in really handy is when I'm going around and doing I'll call it light electrical work.
Yep. I'm with you.
Yep. If I have to get into, behind a few covers here or there, I have a way of just, instead of going all the way out to get all my tools and stuff, is just, hey, I can tighten up a screw here or there. I can take the faceplate off. I can tighten up, something inside, whatever it might be, and it's done. And I just keep moving on.
Yeah.
And I think that's what these things are all about. A lot of professional linemen and things like that carry these type of tools with them. And they can be very specific type of multi-tools that they use. So, I use mine. I use mine all the time. I've got that, my everyday carry, if you want to call it, is going to be a multi-tool like that. And I also carry my knife with me.
You like knives. You're a nice guy.
My switchblade.
Yes.
So, yeah, you can't get them in every state.
You're switchblade.
But here in Georgia, they're okie dokie. They're fine, and I love that thing. So, but that's that's kind of what I do for my everyday carry. So, folks, this is something out there that might be a good little Christmas present.
Oh, they're super. And if you buy a decent one, if you really buy a good, so I actually have the Leatherman brand. Not that I'm not promoting the Leatherman brand. There's plenty of really good brands, and then there's plenty of cheap knockoffs, right? If you buy a good one, I mean, if it looks like a tool grade one, and I think back in the day, mine's pretty old. I mean, I'm going to say it's probably, I don't know, 10 years old. I think it was around $50 back then, but I still have it, right? And I still use it every day. And I would say, folks, it's a great Christmas present, for the guy that or guy or gal. I shouldn't say, it's not necessarily for men, but for anybody that's using it, that is doing anything on a regular basis. And gosh, you just carry with. I mean, like I said, I originally got it because I was running a vending route, and I just needed, like you're talking about with your doing light electrical work. I just every once in a while I needed to be able to turn a screw or use the needle nose pliers just to make a tweak on something, or I use the blades all the time because I was forever opening boxes and things, so I'd flip a blade out and just cut the tape. And I just found, and then even like the particular one that I have has a serrated blade. It has two blades. It has a regular blade and a serrated blade.
So is mine.
And I use that serrated. I still do. I used to use it all the time to cut cardboard. It's great for cutting cardboard. I mean, it's like almost better than anything I've ever used. And so it was great to cut cardboard with and all that kind of thing. So it's a multi-tool, but just got lots of uses. Spend the extra money. You can buy one for $20, you can buy one for $50. Generally, the one for $50 is going to be better quality. The steel's better, the fit and finish is better, and it's going to last a really long time. And really nice. I mean, that's my take on it. So just kind of what it is. John, give us another one. We had another one there that we both came up with this year. That was a new one.
Yeah, and this is the one that I can't see myself driving too many finishing nails anymore, and it's a nail gun.
Yep.
It's a
ours are electric.
It's not a let me clarify. It's not a framing nailer.
No.
It's a 15 gauge. It's a 15 gauge big brads.
Yep.
Big finishing type nails. But that thing, I can't go back now. Okay, with all the different size nails, the length and all that kind of stuff, and just using this to attach all kinds of things, and it's just so much easier, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing any kind of trim work, and you're holding up trim with one hand, you're not going to be nailing with the other hand,
right?
You need something like this to hold that thing up there and pop these things in. And it's cordless. These things are, they never really had them before.
Right.
There's all kinds of ways to do the kind of cordless things in the past, but it's electric, it's a battery out. It's unbelievable how powerful this thing is.
Yeah, and I've even find myself, like, even if I'm doing framing, and it's to your point, like you're trying to hold something in place where you want to get it set in a perfect, in the right position. And folks, if you've done any of these projects, I know you've done these projects, and there's just sometimes when you have to hold it with your hand. You just can't get it. There's just no way to get it. Well, I've actually done some framing and things where to set it before I put a screw in, I'll shoot one finish nail into it. Now that's not the fine, but that's just to hold it while I go and get the screw put in it.
Yeah.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
So it's and along with all the trim that we've done with them, really been an extremely handy tool for all of the different kinds of applications there are. Defending yourself. Trust me, if you stick it up against somebody, if you have to.
One of the things that what I did to your point, I was leaning out of the second story here, and I built some cedar window boxes for the house.
Yep.
That the original window boxes, they built out of pine, and of course that lasted about all of 3 years, and then it just fell off. But so I was leaning out of the second story window instead of getting up on a ladder, and I just leaned outside the window, and I just tacked these big window boxes on with that thing, the nail gun, right? And then I put through regular screws in there.
Yeah, to actually hold it up.
But just to hang that thing temporarily.
Yep.
I could get it exactly where I want it, popped it in, and then gone from there. And I had 3 window boxes to put up like that. and it was great. It worked out tremendous. So, again, to kind of summarize here, that's another one of those tools that I can't go back without it. And I will tell you that I had brad nailers before that
With
were
air.
on compressors.
Yep, on compressors.
And it's the same thing as being, you got the compressor with the electrical cord on the compressor and a hose and a this and a that. And it's like, no,
yeah, not going back
yeah,
to
not
those
going to
days.
happen.
No.
Not going to happen.
Yep.
So, it's just been great. So what else, Larry? You brought up a couple of them.
Yeah. So the nail. So we were talking about doing trim nails. So one of the other things is, John, and I think we did a quick tip show on this one, but this is one on your recommendation. I bought, I guess, what's it called? It's called a Handshare multi-purpose trim tool. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is a little miter tool, basically, that fits in your hand. It has a very sharp blade on it. It's kind of a funky spade-shaped looking thing. But I did a lot of trim this year, particularly quarter round, and in using this hand tool allows me to do quarter round at a rate that is so much faster than doing a saw or any kind of saw and or miter box, that I was just like, holy smokes! I mean, this is a little. What would you call it, John? Almost like a pair of pliers.
It looks like a duckbill pruning shear.
Yes, that's a good.
And it has an adjustable angle on it, so you can cut 45s and 10 degrees, 30 degrees, all the way up.
Yep.
And you just lay the trim work on there, a quarter round or shoe molding or whatever, and just
squeeze it.
Clip it like you were pruning your rose bushes.
Yep, exactly.
And these things, like you said, Larry, these things you can get go around the room in no time, putting the trim down onto the floor and things like that, for instance.
Yeah.
With that.
Oh,
so.
Absolutely. It's really been it's a game changer. That's one I will not go. It's not that I wouldn't go back, but it's just so much faster and so much easier, and it is a hand tool, so you don't even need any power or anything. It's just fantastic for doing small molding. You're not going to do big molding with it, but you can do small molding, quarter round and shoe molding and anything that's small. And the other thing is it really allows you. It amazing. I think one of the other things that amazes me the most about it is how actually accurate you can get. You can get right down. You can shave with this thing. It works equally as well on wood and or PVC, where you can shave just a little bit of wood off of it if it's too long, and you can get really, really precise. Where you can do that with a saw, but I'm going to say it's a little more difficult. It takes a little more finesse with a saw.
Yeah, and by the time you get through cleaning up all the sawdust and everything, I mean you're done. This thing is done.
Yeah.
I mean, and I always have this in my tool bag.
So it sits in my trim kit, but that's okay because that's where I use it the most. I have a trim kit, so.
But it's been great.
So, do we have anything else, John, this year? We got to save some for next year, but we'll have more next year.
No, I think that's those are the ones that I wanted to highlight. Once again, if you're out there and you're thinking about getting a couple things maybe for Christmas for yourself or somebody else that uses tools a lot. I mean, these are a few things I hope we gave you some good examples of where these things are used and what kind of time savings and aggravation kind of savings that they provide, because we talked about the sander and the router and nail gun, belt sanders, the Handshare and the Leatherman, and the recip type blades. These are the kind of things that we kind of put in our category that said, look, we can't go. I couldn't go back without them. Yeah. I mean, I just got so used to using this type of these type of tools. So I think that's a good wrap on what I've used and what you've used last year.
I did want to add just one quick thing, and that is we talked a little bit about pricing on this stuff, and we're not trying to spend your money, folks, but we did want to. I mean, I just want to throw in their pricing because I'm thinking about this. So we've got anything from like these pruning recip blades are like anywhere from $5 to $10 each, or I guess it may be in packs of 2. Anyway, whatever. They're not terribly expensive, and then we go up to the nail gun. I think was a couple of $100 if I remember right. Pretty, but kind of on the high side. But these aren't huge investments towards the Christmas time. But there's a whole variety of things. And I know personally, if somebody gave me some of those pruning blades for Christmas, I'd be like, awesome. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what I'm going to do with them, And same thing with a Leatherman. A Leatherman, like, to me, is like a long-term gift. Like, somebody will have that for years. It's like a fine knife. If somebody gives you a fine knife, it's really a good thing. So anyway, John, do you think that when you took that spaceship apart the last time, did they have any cordless tools in there? Wait, I don't know if I want to know about that one where they were probing you.
No, but I think the guy had a Leatherman.
That sounds like a winner to me. Folks, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. You can go to our website and leave us a message. Actually, up in the right-hand corner, you can leave us a voice message. We do have a website, a Facebook page. It's at Handyman Pros is our Facebook group, or you can follow us on Twitter at Handyman Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.